Very good afternoon, my dear student. So today I'm going to discuss about the units and the system of introduction to computer system. So under introduction to computer system, we can find that how this particular part is been working. Okay, so let us see how they are working and how we get it. So see here that in this particular diagram, what you see that there is an input, there is a microprocessing unit. Under the microprocessing unit, there is a control unit and arithmetic logic unit. And on this control unit and arithmetic logic unit, there is another section is called a memory unit. Okay, so it is under what? Under your CPU. So and then the output will come. Now who has designed this architecture? That also you need to know, because if you don't know who has designed the architecture, how this architecture came, because this is someone's concept, some scientist has done it. So who is the scientist? Scientist is von Neumann. Okay, so von Neumann has said that this will be the process with whatever the computer is, whatever the generation will come, how the generation will going to change, but this particular structure, this particular pattern will never going to change. Okay, so this particular pattern will never going to change. That means this pattern will never going to change. So this is the pattern designed by whom? Designed by von Neumann. So he said it that you should have one input. Okay, how big the computer is, how complex the computer is, how the pattern of the computer is, how fast the computer is, how slow the computer is. So everywhere this particular pattern will going to activate. One will be what? Input device. Another is what? Central processing unit. Under the central processing unit, there will be one section known as a microprocessing unit. So this is your microprocessing unit. Okay. So what is this microprocessing unit? That means the unit where you find there is a control unit and arithmetic or logical unit, or both arithmetic and logical unit. Isn't it? A control unit and arithmetic unit or logical unit or arithmetic logical, both the unit would be there. So combining this one unit will be formed. See, microprocessing unit, MPU. So this is of CU, that means control unit and arithmetic logic unit. That means either we can have an arithmetic logic unit, either we can have either arithmetic unit, either the logic unit, whichever is applicable according to the machine. But is that there we must have these two particular section. Okay, so when we have this two section, what we find it, there should be another part. What is that another part? The another part is your memory unit. This is the section what you have, the memory section or the memory unit. That means where to store the data and information. Okay, so when we have this particular pattern of the data and information are there, what we see here, you see here we have the both way operations is been done, this way and this way. That means the information what is there, that will go from here to there. Again, after all the work is completed, it will going to return back in this particular section. Okay, so when it is returning back in this particular section, what we find, after the work is over, it will going to give you something. What it is? Is it fruits? Is it flowers? No, it's the finished product. That is the output. You have given some input, your input is processed, and after your input is processed, you find it that you will going to have a particular thing in front of you. What is that? That is the output will be in front of you. So where you will going to get it? You will going to get it in the output device. Whatever the output device we have, it can be a printer, it can be your monitor, it can be any pattern of thing, it can be your projector, whichever the part you are using and you are applying. Okay, so let us discuss about the central processing unit. Central processing unit or CPU. What is CPU? CPU is said a brain of a computer. Okay, so it is responsible for all the functions and process. Clear? It is responsible for all the functions and process that what we find it that we are doing. With what? With the help of an power. If power is not there, CPU will not work. Okay, that means if you don't eat, you don't get an energy. Similarly, here also the CPU will ultimately work based on the power that you are supplying. So this is very important element of the computer system. This is very important section of the computer system. So in this particular CPU, what you have an arithmetic logic unit. Clear? So this is the section where arithmetic and logical operation will be done. So arithmetic operation is a different sections. Logical operation is a different part. Arithmetic means like calculating, doing the addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. All this work what we find are the arithmetic sections. They are under your arithmetic calculator. Okay, but logical section, what is a logical section? Logical section comprised of what? The numbers, the letters, the special characters, the special operations, what are there, all will come under your logical sections. Clear? So all this particular logical section what you have, that is a totally different section based on which you are working. Here, so this is what we can find, that we have one section that is called an what? Arithmetic logic unit. Next is what? Control unit. Control, like what we find it, that everywhere we find there is a control. If you are riding a bike, bike has some control. It has some coordination with each and every part, that you are pressing the clutch, you are pressing the different gears, isn't it? They are making some impact on the wheels in the different sections, in the different parts. So as they are making those impact, what we find is that this is the coordination what you are making, this is the coordination what you are introducing. So what it will going to do, first and foremost, read the code for the next instructions to be executed. Okay, so when it will going to do this particular work, we find it that increment the program count, so it's point to the next instruction. Read whatever data is instructed required for the cell in a memory. Provide the necessary data and ALU or register. If the instruction is required, what we find, there is a special hardware, there is specialization of the hardware to complete the instruction of the hardware will be performed. Okay, so this is what you can find, that control unit will going to do all this particular section. That means first and foremost it will read the code and it will see what the instruction to be given to it. Second, what we find, all the increment part, all the program counter, where to go, where to find. Okay, how to do it? This is the second section that we're going to discuss on it. Third, what we're going to find, that it will going to have the different pattern of data and instructions from the cell in a memory. Okay, next what we're going to find is that it is necessary for the data to ALU or register. Okay, so if you have an instruction, different pattern of instructions are there, all those instructions what you have, if you have a special instruction, special hardware component, special things, that will going to be implemented here. Okay, next what we say, register. Register means what? Where stored the data that is executed. What next? That means very first storage area. This is the very first storage area where you can find the data will going to store. Next, I am going to discuss about the memory system. Okay, memory system. What type of memory you can see here? I have written primary memory and secondary memory. Primary memory. Primary memory means which is primer, which is main. Okay, so this particular memory what we have, they are divided into two parts. What is that? You know it very nicely. That is RAM and ROM. Okay, so RAM means random access memory. Random access memory is that particular part of a memory where we find that computer is responsible for storing the data on a temporary basis, not a permanent basis. Here you cannot store the data for a permanently. That means when you are accessing your work, when you are doing the work, when you are processing your work, that particular time, that particular point of view, you can find it that you need a data to be stored. Okay, so that it will not going to erase from there. So what you find it that you are using a RAM. RAM is what? The particular section where you can store the data. So data will be erased once what happened? The storage device is turned off. That means if you turn off your machine, your data what is stored in RAM will be completely erased. That means it will become one very clear what? Storage device. Now nothing is there. Okay, so RAM stored the data. RAM stored the data considering a random access. Random access, as the name suggested. Random means I am randomly accessing the thing. Randomly means anyway. That means I am not following any rule. I go to your suppose shop and I am randomly taking any things. Okay, serially I am not taking the things. Or you are randomly taking your clothes. There are clothes in the cupboard. You are taking your clothes randomly. So you are accessing them randomly. Okay, so what we find is that there is a particular pattern of rows and columns are there, and based on these rows and columns what we going to have, we have the intersections of the cells. Next I will discuss about a ROM. What is this ROM? ROM means read only memory. That means read only memory. ROM is a permanent form of a storage. RAM is a not permanent form of a storage. This is a permanent form of a storage. ROM stay active when we find the power is not there. That means if you turn off your machine, if you turn off your machine and you make the machine off and afterwards you again open the machine, you will going to find it that particular system, particular ROM will going to have all the data in it. So no modification is done. Without any modification, the thing will be stored there. Second, what we find a secondary memory. Secondary memory means what? This is the section, this is the part where we are storing the data permanently. So in primary memory, there is one section where we can store the data permanently is ROM. But in secondary memory, you find the different units are there, different sections are there where you can store the data for a long duration of time. What are they? One is very common to us, we know it, that is an HD or hard drive. So HD or hard drive or hard disk, whatever you say, hard disk drive, many names are there. Okay, you can call it by any name. But what the work it will do? It will going to store your data. It will going to help your data to access in a large amount. Okay, how the data are stored? We know it that it is stored in an electromagnetically way. So this is the section, this is the part what we find. This is the section where we find that we are going to store the data and we are working with the data. Okay, next what we find, the optical disc. We are aware of this also. Optical disc means CD. Okay, optical disc drive. There was a laser ray comes and this pattern of the thing will be in this particular pattern. This particular pattern, isn't it? Your CD will be this particular pattern. And what happens? There is a CD reader. From the CD reader, what happens? A laser ray will come and this laser ray will come and suppose in this area, then it will reflect and that will be taken and that will be read here. Okay, so there will be a different sections as we know, as I have said in my previous lecture. There I have shown you that there are the sectors are there. Okay, so in from any sector, suppose now laser ray is coming and in this particular sector. So as laser ray come in this particular sector, laser ray again return back. So there it will going to store the data. So this is how we can find it that we can use the different type of data storage and data storage sections. Based on this particular data storage section, we are storing the data. So we are using the DVD, isn't it? We are using the Blu-ray disc. We are using the different type of optical drives to generate the names, and those the CDs, DVDs, okay, blue DVDs, Blu-ray disc, CD can store up to how much? 700 MB. That means megabyte data. Data are stored up in what? From 700 MB to 8.4 GB. GB means gigabyte. So when we find there are the different pattern of storage, we can store up to 50 GB of data. Okay, so this is the storage. And floppy disk, what we find, this was a very older version storage device. This used to store 1.44 MB of data. So this is how we can see, this is how we can find that we can store the data and we can work with the data. Okay, now I am going to discuss about the flash disk. Flash means once it will come. Flash means what? The storage modules what we find, there is a flash memory. Flash disk has no what? Mechanical platters or access the arms. But the term disk is used because the data are accessed as if they were no on the hard drive. So this is what we can find, the disk storage structure is there. So what is that? That is, we have a RAM and we have a hard drive. So RAM means what? It is a memory. Hard disk is a storage. RAM is what? A smaller amount of data can be stored, typically 500 MB to 6 GB, up to 6 GB, but here up 80 GB to 1000 GB the data can be stored. Okay, it is a temporary storage of a files, but hard disk is a permanent storage of a file. Little like a real, it looks like a real desktop. Okay, currently it will work, but like a file cabinet, it will look like a file cabinet, has a long term of a storage work. Content disappear when you off the power. That means as soon as you off the power, all the content of the RAM will disappear. But here what happened? As soon as you off the power, all the content of the thing will be remain there. It will not disappear. As soon as you get it, we find it, the thing will going to appear. Consist of chips. What type of chips? It use the microprocessor, and here it use the hard disk. That means the platters. Okay, or platters. When you want to use the program temporary, what we find it, that particular thing will put into a RAM and the copy you are using, and it will hold the original program permanently. That means here what we find, the thing will be stored for a certain duration of time, but there what we find, the thing will be stored for a long duration of time. Okay, so this is what we can find, this is what we can see. These are the differences between the RAM and the hard disk. That means what we see, that we have a flash memory, we have the different pattern of drives are there, and all these different pattern of drive, what we find it, that they will going to access the work, isn't it? They will going to access the work in the way that they want. They will going to do the work in the manner that has been allocated for it. Okay, so this is how we can see, this is how we can find that the work can be completed. Okay, so we can complete this work, we can do the work based on which, based on the system that we do have with us, the memory that we do have with us. Okay, what pattern of memory we have with us and what is the specification of the memory is, that is a very important thing. If we don't know the specification, obviously we cannot work it. It is not a magic. Okay, it's not a magic that you will do and you will put a jadoo kachari and that will going to start working, isn't it? It is a process. You have to go through the process, you have to know the process, how the process is working, what is the memory that it can hold, how it will going to work. So all this particular section, all this particular part, what is there, we find it that will going to work in this particular manner. Okay, so now I'm going to discuss just a brief that I'm going to give you about the input device. You can see here this is your what? Monitor. This is your keyboard, you know it very nicely. This is your what? This is the part is known as modem. This is your modem, isn't it? This is what? This is your system unit. This is the mouse. Okay, so this one is a speaker. This is the speaker. Clear? This is your printer. So all these things, combining all these things, you think, see, there are many type of things are there. Now there is a input device. Input device means those the peripherals or those the equipment or those the hardware section which are there to control the information signal that are being sent to the computer. That means in your system. What are they? We find there are many things are there. Like we see there that there what we have a keyboard. We have a numeric keypad. We have a pointing device. We have a remote control. We have a joystick. We have a touch screen. We have a scanner. We have a graphics tab. Isn't it? We do have a microphone. We have a digital camera. We have a webcam. We have a light pen. So many things are there that we can use as an input device. Different pattern of things we can find that each and every things are there which will be used as an input device. That means it will going to take the input. So input device what? Keyboard, mouse, then microphone, touch screen, scanner, webcam, touchpad, MDI card, keyboard, okay. Then graphics tab, camera, video capture, light pen, barcode reader, digital camera, joystick, trace ball, game pad, electronic, whiteboard. So all these things, we do have one thing that is a QWERTY keyboard. QWERTY. You see the keyboard, there is a QWERTY at the top of the keys. So this particular keyboard where we have a QWERTY keyboard generally have 104 keys in it. Okay, alphabets, numbers, special numbers, symbols, all these things combining 104 keys are there. Spacebar, alter key, shift key, etc. etc. Okay, so those are the things what we can find. This is known as a QWERTY keyboard. We do have a QWERTY keyboard and we do work on the QWERTY keyboard. Next, what is an output device? Output device means through which we can get the output. There are the different pattern of output devices are available, like CRT monitor, TFT monitor, laser printer, laser ink, okay, dot matrix printer, speaker, plotter, multimedia projector. So all these things are there. So all these things will work as your output device. So what we find that cathode ray tube, liquid crystal display, LCD, as we commonly known as LED, light emitted diode. Okay, light emitted diode. So all these things what we find that we do have all these things and we are working on this thing. So there we find there is a printer like laser printer, inkjet printer, dot matrix printer. So many pattern of printers are there. So all these printers are what is an output unit. That means those the equipments, those the section of the hardware will help you to give the information. Will help you to convert the thing what from the electronic form to the human understandable form. That means the form that we understand. That will printer will not print 01010101. That means what it will print? It will going to print the thing in the form of an alphabets. Okay, so this is the thing what it will going to print. This is your output section or this is the output unit. So this is how we can find we do have an input unit and output unit with it. So thank you students. Thank you all. I am ending my session here. Thank you very much.